Water has found its way on board Titanic. In Boiler Room 5, fireman Fred Barrett is trying to assess what kind of grip the water has taken on the wounded ship.
After the ship, the first 3 compartments are flooded.
Who knows that?
And we've no way of knowing. But if they've got, we can't afford to lose another one. This should be easy to pump, but it's number 6 I'm worried about. We're gonna have to get back in there.
Oh.
Up and over.
The only way through was to go over the emergency escape ladders. So Mr. Shepherd and I climbed all the way up back into Boiler Room 6.
The watertight bulkhead stretches up 50 feet, but it doesn't reach the top of the ship. If it did, it would cut across the corridors, forcing passengers to climb to the promenade deck every time they wanted to move from one end of the ship to the other. So the builders compromised. The final plans of the great ship show the bulkheads reaching up 2/3 of the hull, leaving the decks above and their corridors unbroken, which seems fine, until you realize the bulkheads now finish just 10 feet above the waterline.
I think it must have been the impact that awoke me. I knew something had happened, but I wasn't quite sure what. I pulled on my clothes over my pajamas, put on my dressing gown, and went in search of the captain.
Excuse me. Hey! Who do you think you are?
J. Bruce Ismay is officially on Titanic's maiden voyage merely as a passenger. But in truth, he is far, far more than that.
There's no damage and no cost forward, sir. The whole big storage room is dry.
Is there something happening here that the president of the White Star Line should know about?
We've hit an iceberg.
I beg your pardon?
I believe the ship is damaged, sir.
Ismay is the chairman of the White Star Line.
That's impossible.
Effectively, he owns Titanic. And any problem with her will be a PR disaster.
What are you doing about it?
We may not have to do anything. The watertight compartments are all sealed, and the outer bottom has probably taken the brunt of the blow. But we seem to be taking on water.
We're flooding?
Sericals, North Officer. Mr. Ismay.
Yes, sir.
3 times in my career, I have run aground, through no fault of my own. Not once were there any serious consequences, and none of those vessels were as well built as this one. However, we may need to divert to carry out some repairs.
You mean we can't carry on to New York?
That wouldn't be sensible, sir.
I see. Well, one way or another, we need to get moving. And Captain Smith, this ship cannot be allowed to fail.
Stand by to alter course.
Yes, sir. Standing by.
It is 11:45 p.m. The water has been aboard for exactly 5 minutes. The main damage is forward of the boiler rooms. The series of ruptures run all the way back past Boiler Room 6, some 300 feet from the bow. Barrett and Shepherd re-enter Boiler Room 6.
Boiler Room 6 was a lot worse than when we'd left it. A lot worse. There must have been about 8 feet of water in it.
Right! Stop with all the pumps!
There are 2 pumps and 2 drains in each room. Each valve opens up suction in a different area of the room. Together, they can pump 28 tons per minute. Enough, perhaps, to keep the flooding at bay, provided they can keep working.
Lumps of coal that got stuck in the thrum box. We were pulling them out with our bare hands. That's when the signal came for the engines to start again.
What's going on?
"300 feet back from Boiler Room 6 lies Titanic's powerhouse, her engine room.
Overhead, gentlemen!
Overhead! Good water! Pressure up! Any musky?
Titanic is on the move again. The combination of the outside water pressure and the forward thrust forces even more water into Boiler Room 6. More water than the pumps can cope with. Titanic is literally driving the water in. Later, officers will testify that Titanic stayed at the crash site. But the truth is that around 11:47 p.m., the huge ship started to move again. Whether it was heading for the nearest port or simply being tested for seaworthiness, no one will ever know. But more and more seawater is working its way into her wounded body. It is 7 minutes since Titanic hit an iceberg in the mid-Atlantic. There is no panic or alarm amongst the passengers.
Good evening, miss.
Good evening. By the time I got back to my cabin, everything seemed normal. I thought it must have just been an unexpected swell or something. And then I noticed that the engines were running again, and I thought, well, all right.
Thanks for keeping an eye on Virginia for me.
Oh, no problem. She's been asleep the whole time.
I think the engines help.
But while the throb of the engines is comforting for the passengers, they are only adding to Titanic's plight. In her bow, water is coming aboard faster and faster, while the engineers remain oblivious.
I had always had a good rapport with the chief engineer, Joseph Bell.
That's not for me to say, sir.
We had discussed at what speed the ship might run at. He'd always seemed very knowledgeable. I had no reason to doubt his judgment.
What I want to know from you, in your official capacity, is the ship seaworthy enough to continue to its original destination?
Mr. Ismay, sir, that's not my decision.
I know that. But if it were your decision, Chief Engineer, is the ship capable?
The damage seems to be confined to the bow. The pump should cope, sir.
You're sure the pumps will keep her afloat?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. It's exactly the answer I was hoping for.
Right, boys. Jobs to do.
But the pumps aren't coping. The forward movement of the ship is driving more and more water into the first 5 compartments. The flood level is now 20 feet above the keel of the ship.
Bring it up! Bring it up!
In Boiler Room 5, the water invading from behind the locker doors is still under control. The bulging hoses are keeping the flooding at bay. But closer to the bow, in Boiler Room 6, the engines are pushing water in almost 20 times faster than the pumps can pump it out.
The pump simply couldn't keep up. We were struggling.
And still the engine room is oblivious. Titanic is steaming straight towards tragedy.
It's no use! She's forcing the water in! You've got to tell the Brits they need to stop!
Captain.
Fetch Mr. Murdoch.
Yes, sir.
Captain Smith's faith in Titanic's seaworthiness remains unshaken until he's told the news from Boiler Room 6.
Stand by and await further orders.
Sir?
That was Boiler Room 6. They say they're 8 feet deep in water and the flooding is getting worse all the time. This can't be happening. All stop, Mr. Murdoch. Do not put the engines in full astern. Do not reverse the engines.
Yes, sir.
Better drift.
Even stopping the ship is now a major problem. Stop it too fast and the water in the front of the ship will go crashing forward, causing untold damage.
Post up, gentlemen!
It is 7 minutes to midnight on the night of Sunday, April 14th, 1912. 13 minutes after impact. 300 miles from land, carrying 2,000 souls in the open water of the Atlantic Ocean, the greatest ship ever built drifts to a halt. Icy waters creeping aboard, and she will never move under her own steam again.
This story begins in 1909. The British shipping company White Star Line is locked in a fierce battle with other rivals to dominate passenger service across the Atlantic. To beat the competition, White Star's ambitious chairman, J. Bruce Ismay, commissions their newest ship, a liner that will outshine all others: Titanic. However, when construction falls behind schedule, it puts White Star in financial peril. It's imperative that they launch the ship so they can sell enough tickets to refill the company coffers. When Titanic is finally completed 3 years later in 1912, it is the largest and most luxurious liner ever built. And the Titanic is not just lavish, it's purported to be the safest ship ever to set sail. Her 16 watertight compartments are designed to keep the vessel afloat even if her hull is breached, leading publications to declare that the ship is unsinkable. By the time Titanic is ready to set sail on April 10, 1912, a staggering amount of money has been spent on her construction. White Star Line chairman J. Bruce Ismay knows how much is at stake if her maiden voyage is a flop. The ship's captain, Edward Smith, a British naval officer, is considered a celebrity by White Star passengers. At 62 years of age, he had served in the Royal Reserve and commanded hundreds of Atlantic crossings, becoming the highest-paid ship's captain in the world. Smith will do whatever it takes to ensure Titanic's crossing is a success. With 2,240 passengers and crew aboard, the launch of the ship is an exuberant affair. As Titanic sets sail, famous first-class passengers, including real estate magnate John Jacob Astor, business tycoon Benjamin Guggenheim, and Isidore and Ida Strauss, millionaire owners of Macy's department store, indulge in the ship's luxurious amenities. This includes squash courts, a heated saltwater swimming pool, and other facilities only available to first-class passengers. Below them, the second-class passengers enjoy one of 3 separate open-air promenades, or mingle in the smoking room, while on the ship's lower decks, the third-class travelers dance and socialize. The passengers are blissfully unaware that, in an effort to keep the decks looking sleek, Titanic has only enough lifeboats to accommodate less than half of those aboard. And on the third day of the crossing, Titanic sails into dangerous waters. Starting at 9 a.m., the bridge receives repeated warnings from nearby ships of icebergs in the area. At 10:30 p.m., a rival liner even reports she stopped dead in the water because they're surrounded by ice. Captain Smith considers slowing Titanic down to protect her from a collision. But witnesses claim White Star Line chairman Bruce Ismay pressures Captain Smith to continue near top speed so Titanic can arrive in New York ahead of schedule and generate publicity.
Full speed ahead.
Then, at 11:39 p.m., a lookout spots a large white mass in the water. He rings the bridge, informing First Officer Murdoch,
"Iceberg, Captain!"
Murdoch orders full stop of Titanic's engines.
But it's already too late. Titanic is about to take a collision on her starboard side, a mountain of ice that will scrape along her hull for nearly 300 feet.
The ship has 16 watertight compartments and was designed to stay afloat if as many as 4 of them are flooded. But the iceberg slices open 6 compartments, creating a cascade effect that cannot be stopped. In other words, a death sentence for the unsinkable ship. It took 3,000 people 3 years to build Titanic, but it only takes the ocean 3 hours to destroy her. By 2:20 a.m. on April 15, 1912, Titanic is gone beneath the waves. In the chaos of her sinking, and owing to the lack of sufficient lifeboats, it is estimated that 1,503 of the more than 2,200 people aboard perish. That includes John Jacob Astor, Benjamin Guggenheim, Isidore and Ida Strauss, as well as 110 women and 53 children, 52 of whom were from the third-class deck. News of Titanic's sinking sends shockwaves around the globe. How could the world's most advanced ocean liner sink so quickly?
Days after the tragedy, the U.S. and British governments launch inquiries to determine what happened. They conclude what seems obvious, that Titanic's sinking was due to, quote, a collision with an iceberg brought about by the excessive speed at which the ship was being navigated. So, open and shut case, right? Well, hold your propellers. Shocking new evidence of a long-buried conspiracy may show that it wasn't just ice that brought the ship down, but instead, a secret right beneath the passengers' feet. In 1912, the legendary ocean liner Titanic strikes an iceberg and is about to sink in the North Atlantic. But is that the whole story?
In 2017, an Irish journalist examines rare photographs of the Titanic in Southampton, just days before she departs for New York. And what the images lay bare is nothing short of alarming. Titanic historian Craig Sopin believes the photos support a conspiracy theory, which sends everything we know about Titanic's sinking up in flames.
Prior to Titanic's departure, it was discovered that there was a fire in the coal bunker. And when it was discovered, nothing was done to try and put this fire out.
So, was this fire still raging as passengers boarded the ship and set sail for New York?
One interesting thing about these photographs is that 2 of them showed an inexplicable black streak along Titanic's starboard hull. It wasn't a reflection, it wasn't sunlight, but it was at the very fine, focused area of a streak that obviously needed further explanation. We know that the coal bunker fire was also in the starboard side, and some investigators have argued that that position was very close to the position on the hull where these black streaks are. You put two and two together and you think, okay, the coal bunker fire was burning the hull and the hull was turning black. What else could it possibly be?
During the official inquiries into the Titanic's demise, one crew member reveals that a growing fire had started in the coal room prior to the voyage, but the judge overseeing the hearings quickly dismisses it as irrelevant to the ship's sinking. Did the judge miss a major clue, or was he trying to minimize the coal fire's role in this epic disaster?
Some historians believe the judge was incentivized to protect the vital shipping industry of Britain. Others theorize that these photographs suggest the coal blaze was much, much bigger than originally believed.
They argue that for a fire to damage the hull to the extent the photograph appears to capture, it would have to reach temperatures of 1,800 degrees. A fire that hot would have warped Titanic's steel, weakening her hull.
Why, before they left port, they didn't douse the fire in bunker 5 or 6 is totally unknown. Some have speculated that if the fire were still going at the time they left, and they went and announced this to the White Star Line, they may have been stuck at port.
Then, as bad luck would have it, the iceberg strikes Titanic at the very same location where the coal fire is reportedly burning, near the ship's 6th watertight bulkhead. Once this bulkhead gives way, the ship begins to pitch forward, flooding more compartments and sealing her fate.
Some have asserted Captain Smith knew about the coal fire, but many believe the captain felt the pressure to please Chairman Ismay. So could it be that Smith decided to keep his boss happy by setting sail on time and ignoring the potential danger? For Sopin, the decision to leave Southampton on time raises troubling questions about Chairman Ismay's willingness to gamble with passengers' lives. But could Smith have overruled Ismay? Does the Titanic's captain also share the blame?
Captain Smith was in charge of everyone and everything on that ship. Under today's standards, for a vessel to leave with a fire on board, actively going and not taking any mitigation efforts beyond shoveling the coal, under today's standards would be considered criminal negligence.
In the end, the captain and Ismay suffered very different fates. Ismay managed to board one of the last lifeboats, ultimately surviving. And even though he was cleared of any blame for the tragedy, he was accused of cowardice and was ostracized for the rest of his life. As for Captain Smith, some witnesses say that he jumped overboard into the icy waters, and others claim he went down with his sinking ship.
In the end, a fire secretly smoldering in the ship's hold may have been the true spark responsible for the Titanic disaster, fatally weakening her hull. And so the ship, Captain Smith, and more than 1,500 innocent lives were lost in a perfect storm of fire and ice.
On April 10th, 1912, the RMS Titanic embarked on its transatlantic maiden voyage from Southampton, England to New York City, ultimately carrying 2,208 passengers on board. After 4 calm days at sea, on the night of April 14th, the ship struck a massive iceberg, resulting in one of the greatest tragedies ever written in our collective history.
Frozen water. That's what killed 1,496 people that night.
Yet the memory of this event still lives on today. In 2006, the Titanic Museum in Branson, Missouri opened its doors as home to one of the largest collections from that fateful voyage. And we're here to investigate incredible claims by the museum staff that there are full-bodied spirit manifestations whose hauntings are connected to their very personal objects.
Hello!
Ooh. Why doesn't everybody do that when I walk into the room?
Well, this is first class.
Oh, okay. So we just walked into the Titanic.
Yes.
What's absolutely amazing about this museum is the outside.
It is an exact recreation of the outside of the Titanic, half the size. We have over 400 real Titanic artifacts from the actual 1912 debris field or given by actual survivors.
Do you think by recreating this, there are specific people that are haunting the Titanic Museum?
I personally do. Welcome to the grand staircase.
Holy cow. This is like being on the actual ship.
Yes, the room we're standing in, it is actual size, and it was built for us using the real paper blueprints of the actual Titanic.
Is this where you saw an apparition?
Yes.
Okay, who was the apparition?
Who I believe it was John Jacob Astor. He was the richest man on board Titanic. He was 47, his new wife was 18. On the honeymoon, she finds out she's gonna have a baby.
Did she survive?
She survived.
Why wouldn't he have survived as well?
Everybody thinks money can get you anything. You've got 2,208 passengers running up and down the decks. The officers are blowing the whistles, screaming orders. It's a fiasco. It's chaos at every turn. On one side of the ship, it's women and children only in a lifeboat. John Jacob Astor, he asked if he could board with her in her delicate condition.
Why would they refuse that?
They just refused. They said women and children only.
So money can't always buy you your life.
Well, that time it didn't.
John Jacob Astor. He is the prominent apparition that you believe haunts the staircase.
I believe that because I've seen him more than one occasion, and it's always right there. Right there, at the top of the stairs. And the reason I think it's him is because right there, the top, we have recreated exactly the bedroom that he stayed in on the Titanic.
I believe that you telling this story, that is the reason why you are seeing his apparition on this staircase. Do any of your customers ever get emotional?
Yes, we've had people just in hysterics in here, just crying uncontrollably because they said, I hear screaming.
Next, we're shown another room in the museum, which also seems to be drawing on energy from the Titanic.
This is the musicians' gallery.
So that scene in Titanic, where everybody's in chaos and everybody's just running for their lives to get that spot on a lifeboat, and those musicians are just sitting there, they looked at their fate and they said, you know what? We're gonna go out doing what we love and play beautiful music until that moment that their bodies hit that ice-cold water and they perished. Who are the men who did that?
Well, there were 8 musicians on board Titanic. Wallace Hartley, he was the band leader, and this was the first time they had met.
As I'm standing here, it's very eerie. Every single one of these 8 faces of these band members are staring at me. I'll be honest with you, I haven't felt anything since I've been here, but I feel something here right now. Do you feel this? Come here and feel this.
Oh, I 100% feel that.
Do you feel that?
I really do, yeah.
Jamie, do you feel?
Can you feel that?
Right here, it's small. Are there any reports of children?
In this room, I have seen a child. That's what I saw.
You have?
Yes. So that's my ghost story.
Get the spirit box over here now, please.
Of the 133 children aboard the Titanic, nearly half lost their lives.
It is ice cold right here. Can you please speak to me?
After after several minutes of attempting to communicate with this child's spirit, we don't receive a single voice on the spirit box.
You don't want to talk to us?
So Alexis takes us to another room where evidence of childlike activity has occurred.
What area is this?
This is the captain's bridge. So every night we go through the museum and we clean all the cases, all the glass, all the plastic, everything. So I went through and I cleaned all of these windows like I do every single night. So I went to the other side. That's the promenade deck. That's the only room where I feel genuinely creeped out. And there were 2 kids' handprints on the window. And I tried to clean them, but they were on the other side that I just cleaned.
So can you show me the glasses where the little kids' handprints were?
It was this one.
It was this one.
Mm-hmm.
Why are there handprints on the glass?
I don't know.
Why are there handprints on the glass?
We cleaned it before you guys got here.
There are little kid handprints on the glass.
That one wasn't there before.
That just appeared.
In this moment, we are amazed by this sudden manifestation of child-sized handprints, which validates that we're communicating with one of the young victims of the Titanic. And this is hands down one of the most compelling pieces of evidence we've ever documented.
You putting your hands on the glass to get our attention?
We didn't have any kids come through the museum within the last 3 hours.
Really?
We had 2 people come through and make sure everything was clean before you guys came in.
We have validation that these windows were clean before we got here. And I know you're probably running from us because that's what little children do. But when we come back, we're gonna bring you candy. We're gonna bring you toys. I feel as though you'll speak to us when we bring these toys back and put them on these window ledges below your handprints. There's a wall here, and it has etchings. 3rd class passengers, 181 survived, 528 perished. Imagine the maiden voyage of this massive ship. All these people are on this ship to start new lives, from the wealthy to the not so wealthy. I see all these names, I see all these deaths. Nearly 1,500 people whose names stare back at you.
As we examine the connection between the hauntings and artifacts on display at the Titanic Museum, a tour guide shows us an exhibit of the most personal and spiritual nature.
So, you have brought me to an exhibit here, and you're going to tell me about an unusual object.
This is Reverend Robert Bateman Bible, and he was a Baptist minister.
From ashes to ashes.
One of many of the ministers, the spiritual heroes who willingly gave their lives that night.
So it must be. So it must be.
Why is the Bible unusual?
The format in which it's printed. It has the original Greek Orthodox text of the New Testament, plus an English translation right next to it. This is the only Bible to actually survive the sinking of the Titanic, and it survived because he gave it to his sister-in-law in order that it would be returned to his wife.
So this exchange of this holy book, that moment of that handoff, he knew that he was going to die.
Yes. He was already at peace with what he fully expected to happen, and he knew that possibly the Bible would give his wife some semblance of peace as well.
The glory of our darkest nights and the comfort in times like these.
When we put the Bible on display, we set it on the rack that it sits on and just let it relax and open to the passage, whatever passage it wanted to open to.
What passage did it open to?
The passage it opened to is Christ walking on the water to his disciples.
Do you think that this museum is haunted by spirits?
I would definitely say that we're not alone. Here in the next room, in the children's gallery, we have one of the actual life vests. We don't know who this one came from. This one was actually removed from one of the bodies that was recovered.
It says that this life jacket was cut from a body that was in the ocean for several days. That person had all the faith in the world that this, what we're looking at right now, was going to save this person's life. The energy that's connected to these objects, it's a given. Why there are spirits here, there's energy here. And we have felt it already. So right now I am standing on the Titanic deck as it would have been sloped 45 degrees at 2:18 a.m. And then the reality has set in now that your strength is going to eventually give away and you are gonna have to let go. This is the moment where you know that this is it, that you're not gonna be saved. This is the exact water temperature as the ocean would have been.
It gets your attention.
It's only been in there 30 seconds, my fingers are hurting. Oh, and it's not like it just goes cold, it hurts. Oh, gosh. And I've had enough. Ouch. Thank you. Whew. When you come here to the Titanic Museum in Branson, Missouri, it's really cool. Not only do you get to see the objects that were on board that night, to put yourself in these little positions too. It only makes that experience that much more real.
Welcome back. This is Mythbusters, and this is James frickin' Cameron.
I am indeed James frickin' Cameron.
We've been testing a very controversial story here.
At the end of the movie Titanic, could Jack and Rose both have gotten onto the board and survived?
So we conducted some small-scale tests here in a tub in the shop.
Jeez, I'm crow, Jack. And at that point, it was looking pretty good for my movie.
Yeah, then we extensively tested hypothermia.
What's your diagnosis, Dr. Heidemann?
He's dead.
So again, the movie's right, huh? Jack in the water would have died before a rescue got there, and Rose out of the water could have held on. So it's myth confirmed, right?
Not just yet. We almost never call it based on the scale tests alone.
The ultimate test is always full scale.
Okay, full scale, but the actors are no longer available, so you're gonna be Jack, you're gonna be Rose.
Yes!
Wait a second, I have a problem with this.
What?
We weigh more than Jack and Rose.
Ah, you're totally right. Well, look, we gotta build a board anyway, so let's scale up its buoyancy to adjust for our increased mass, and then we'll put it to the test once and for all. Are you ready, Rose?
Don't call me Rose.
Sorry.
So it's crunch time for Cameron's Conundrum. Off the shores of Treasure Island, will Rose Heinemann and Jack Savage both get on board the board and both survive until rescue? And speaking of the board,
We've had this thing carefully crafted to be an accurate replica of what was in the movie, based on designs provided by the Maritime Museum of Nova Scotia. It's the same material, same size. It's what we're going to use.
next it's over to the wardrobe department to get dressed for the occasion.
Let's go swimming.
In addition to this, I'm going to be wearing this cork and canvas replica life preserver, which Adam sewed up, and it's exactly like what they had in the movie.
Indeed, it's a period-accurate piece, made of the same materials and with the same buoyancy as the one Rose was wearing. And speaking of accuracy, Jamie has finessed the floating question.
So the board matches the movie, but we don't. We're heavier, obviously. So we're adjusting the board to give it the same amount of lift and stability that it does for Rose. According to our math, we need to make it 11% more buoyant. However, we're not just relying on a number. We'll know we've got it right if visually me on the board matches Rose on the board in the movie.
And what do you know? It does, which means they're in business. Woo! Meaning the myth is ready to sink or swim.
All right, Jamie, you ready for me to start the timer and start this test?
Go ahead.
Okay, 63 minutes till rescue starts. Now! Okay, Rose. Jamie. Sorry. Let's see if we can both get on this thing.
Will Adam and Jamie's Titanic tale be consigned to Davy Jones' locker? Jack's first attempts to get aboard the board seemed very similar to the movie. The board does appear to be only made for one. But once they stabilize and get their balance, things are looking up.
All right.
Baby steps.
Baby steps. So when I first got on, it felt anything but stable. Just like the movie and the small-scale test we did, it felt like it could tip at any moment.
It's holding us up out of the water, mostly.
And if we were in nearly freezing temperatures in danger of passing out, that would be a real issue. So I had an idea. You're wearing a life jacket. What say, Rose? Spread some of her buoyancy around. Let's put it underneath this thing and get every bit we can out of it.
And it's the MacGyver-style tweak that really puts the nail in this myth's coffin. The additional buoyancy has made a massive difference. They're no longer floundering around, but sitting pretty. In fact, so pretty that Rose is ready to nap her way to the 63-minute rescue.
80% of my body is out of the water and in the air.
Yeah, same here. If we can hold this sort of stationary, I think we're golden.
Jamie, we're almost there. 15 seconds.
Well, you know, however noble Jack's intentions might have been, sometimes discretion is the better part of valor.
Hang on, Rose!
With all we've learned, I think Jack's death was needless. Don't call me Rose.
Sorry. The key fact is, we're rescued. We totally made it. On top of the board with most of our bodies out of the water in 63 minutes.
It's a tale we all know. April 14th, 1912. RMS Titanic collides with an iceberg and sinks into the freezing water of the North Atlantic. More than 1,500 people perish. The reasons behind the world's most infamous ocean disaster have been debated for more than a century, from lack of lifeboats to human error. Now, could a phenomenon called space weather change everything we thought we knew about the loss of this unsinkable ship? The largest moving man-made structure on Earth sets sail from Southampton, heading to New York on its maiden voyage. Over 2,000 passengers and crew are on board the Titanic.
It was the largest and most luxurious ship that had been built.
It was supposed to be the most secure, the safest, the most watertight.
Everybody knows the story of the Titanic. Greatest ship, a ship that wasn't made to sink, actually sank.
4 days into her journey, the Titanic collides with an immense iceberg. The frozen mass towers 100 feet above the water and weighs an immovable 2 million tons. Only 705 people survive, less than a third of those on board.
How did this happen? How come no one came to the rescue right away? Who's to blame?
We're still searching for answers more than 100 years later.
An inquiry begins into what went so tragically wrong. The month-long investigation is overseen by Lord Mersey, who takes volumes of notes in his private journals. After the hearings end, these journals are kept locked away by his descendants for more than a century. It's not until 2020 that they're finally released.
His journals reveal his innermost thoughts on the inquiry.
Can Lord Mersey's newly disclosed writings finally expose the truth?
He mentions in the journal that the watertight doors in the hull were left open after initially being closed. If these doors are left open, then water can flood the length of the vessel and also create instability as the weight shifts.
This finding was made public in the initial investigation, but the notes also confirm something that's only ever been speculated. Mersey had underlined and paid special attention to one key detail. There was no reduction in speed following the impact. Captain Smith ordered the ship to move forward at a steady pace for another 20 minutes, a decision that had disastrous consequences.
By keeping going, that means more water coming into the hull. This puts pressure on the bulkheads.
The journals give us new insight into how the ship sank so quickly. But the full story of how the collision happened is still a mystery. Then, a scientific discovery in 2020 gives rise to a completely new theory, something that has never been considered before.
The night that it sank, it was actually a very beautiful, very cold, but very calm night. The sea was said to have been really flat.
Many of the people who were rescued said, oh, the aurora borealis were beautiful that night. They fanned through the sky. It was marvelous. It was spectacular.
Behind this beautiful light show lies formidable power. And it's something that weather researcher Mila Zinkova believes could have played a defining role in the Titanic disaster.
Aurora borealis, it is the most beautiful manifestation of a geomagnetic storm.
Geomagnetic or solar storms are caused by charged particles shooting towards the Earth at a speed of nearly 200,000 miles per second.
The magnetic field guides these particles towards the North and the South Pole. And so when they come down to around the 100 kilometers or so, they bang into the molecules of the air and they cause light to be emitted.
And these charged particles in the sky cause more than an extraordinary light show.
A strong geomagnetic storm can cause havoc, and I mean havoc on a large scale.
Or this kind of cloud of particles cause the magnetic field to kind of wobble or to vibrate. And that generates currents in the Earth.
If you look at the global risks to civilization, the space weather is right up there.
So extreme weather conditions in space can wreak havoc on Earth. 1989, a geomagnetic storm causes a 12-hour power outage in Quebec. It damages a nuclear power plant in New Jersey, plunging 6 million people into darkness.
That solar storm of 1989 was an immensely powerful storm. Big, bigger than your average solar storm.
Could a similar event have contributed to the sinking of the world's greatest ship? In the Titanic era, a compass was the most important navigational tool, an instrument that depends totally on the stability of the Earth's magnetic field.
If you were sitting on the ship in the middle of the ocean, a wobble to the magnetic field could make it look like north was somewhere else.
Could the geomagnetic storm that night have affected the ship's compass so much that it changed the Titanic's intended course?
For me, it was important to establish the strength of the geomagnetic storm.
By studying the space weather from that night, Mila made a vital breakthrough.
I believe that the geomagnetic storm on that night was around moderate to strong.
Most major solar storms occur between 50 and 55 degrees of geomagnetic latitude, the precise region where the Titanic is found. Something else has also been recently discovered, a hand-drawn observation of the sun from the day before the Titanic sinks, showing a sunspot.
Sunspots are areas on the sun where the magnetic field is much stronger. This can cause solar flares and explosions called coronal mass ejections. These can contribute to even more powerful geomagnetic storms on Earth.
Is this further evidence that an intense solar storm played a decisive role in the tragedy?
Aurora borealis happens all the time. Were there people in the Canadian Maritimes going, whoo, this is a light show? Were there people on the American West Coast, Alaska, in Norway, seeing the same thing?
Mila's research uncovers that magnetometers around the world did in fact pick up the storm. Sensors in Alaska, Canada, and Scotland all are disturbed around the time of the sinking. So this celestial event was strong enough to be detected everywhere,
But did it have a critical influence on the reliability of the Titanic's compass?
If the compass was not reliable, of course it affected the ship travel.
Mila believes if the compass was just 0.5 degrees off, it could have altered the Titanic's course, and therefore how it collided with the iceberg.
A slight difference in the angle would have changed everything.
The ship hits the iceberg on the side, and 6 of the 16 compartments are damaged. If 3 of the watertight compartments had been damaged, it might have survived.
A solar storm may have contributed to the catastrophic sinking of the Titanic, but further investigation is showing that its effects may not have been entirely destructive. It could even have played a key beneficial role in the rescue of the survivors. More than 2,000 passengers and crew fought for their lives on the night the Titanic sank. Over 700 of them managed to escape the icy depths of the North Atlantic. Many people are still wondering how they did it. New research suggests space weather played a key role in the rescue ship Carpathia finding the survivors. Was this a celestial savior to those in need of rescue?
23:40 hours, April 14th, 1912. The Titanic has collided with an iceberg of unimaginable size. The ship's 4th officer, Joseph Boxall, determines their position to send out an SOS.
Boxall calculates the SOS position, and he's 13 nautical miles off.
If the geomagnetic storm did affect the Titanic's compass, it could have contributed to this false reading, with big ramifications for the rescue. The Titanic's incorrect position is sent out. Yet bizarrely, one ship, the RMS Carpathia, manages to locate the stricken lifeboats. How could this be possible if they received the wrong location?
I believe that the geomagnetic storm was responsible for helping Carpathia to find the Titanic survivors.
As well as the Titanic's compass, Mila believes the storm also affected the Carpathia, accidentally leading them straight to the lifeboats.
One researcher, he told me it couldn't be a geomagnetic storm because if it was, then all ships in the area would have been affected. And guess what? They all were affected. Titanic, Californian, Mount Temple, and the Carpathia. All of them, all 4 ships.
If the Carpathia had not been affected by the compass variation, it could have missed the lifeboats by 6 nautical miles.
It was lucky coincidence in this situation.
Because of this, the Carpathia saves 705 people from the freezing water. But could the storm have had a further impact on why more boats didn't come to the Titanic's aid? The storm that night might have affected the radio communication of nearby ships, with cataclysmic effect.
Some ships were able to communicate with ships that were farther away from them, but were not able to communicate with the ships that were closer.
Many ships that night report abnormal malfunctions of their communication equipment.
La Provence couldn't contact the Titanic, but could hear the Olympic, which was 500 miles further away than the Titanic.
The Baltic couldn't hear the Mount Temple, but it could communicate with the Virginia, which was further away.
The Mount Temple responds to the SOS, but the Titanic doesn't get the call.
What dealt the definitive blow to the Titanic, with its 2,200 people on board, will continue to confound us. But the might of space weather has added a new line of inquiry to this tragic mystery.
It was just another strike for it. I guess once you say you have an unsinkable ship, the universe is going to turn against you and try to sink you, whatever the cost.